Hi guys, welcome to another video from Overbite Gaming, and today we're taking a look at a PS2, I wouldn't say classic, but an early game, and that is Headhunter. It was originally a Dreamcast game which was ported over a year later to the PS2, and unfortunately the PS2 is the inferior version by all accounts, so that's of course the one I've got, because that's the way my life is. So you play Jack Wade, who is a titular headhunter, in which case he basically goes out and takes down criminals that have been marked as bounties. He wakes up in an operating theatre not knowing what the hell is going on, with amnesia, as all characters must do, as indeed they must all be called Jack as well. It is a rule that all hero characters must be Jack. We know this. It's the law. And he's operating in a world that's very influenced by RoboCop, really. In the fact that there's a lot of satirical news broadcasts. They're actually done in live action, so you've got two actors doing them. And it has interesting stories. One particularly pertinent I found, where the US was embargoing Russia by removing their hamburger franchises.
Naturally.
There you go.
Listen, I checked out
Thought of that one, Biden? Didn't think so.
They both have CCS chip
So, in the world
implants.
of Headhunter, regular weapons have been outlawed because there's a highly lucrative and necessary market for transplants. So if you want to take someone down, they give you these guns which basically cause brain death rather than actual physical damage to the body. So outside of the brain, the organs are fine to harvest. It's a bit squicky. Also, cons have underwater combat in which to try and not be harvested. I think would be the best way of putting that. So it's a bit, yes, it's a bit of a harsh reality, to be fair. So as Jack, you wake up not knowing what the hell's going on. You've lost your headhunter license, and you're given the opportunity to get it back, which is very nice. So you need to go and do your tests, which involve checkpoints on a motorcycle, stealth, combat, and then sort of a mix. And you do that through several levels as you progress through the game to increase your rank and gain access to new equipment. The storyline itself is pretty good. It's not fantastic. The influences it takes are definitely RoboCop. It was very much sort of compared to Metal Gear Solid when it came out, because I believe Metal Gear Solid 2 launched pretty close to it, so it was fresh in people's minds. Metal Gear Solid 2 is a far superior game, even if you don't like the stupid ending and the bait and switch and everything else that's wrong with it. It's still a better game. So Headhunter, yes, it's a weird one. It's a bit of a mishmash. You have an open world that you can drive about on. You have a motorcycle you get early in the game. It controls poorly. You do earn skill points for driving fast and lose them for crashing, although nothing else happens. You just kind of stop dead if you crash. You don't come off the bike or it gets damaged or anything like that. And that ties into the progression system of your headhunter rank and the ability to take tests. I've captured the first mission, really. You have the option of where to go, but I went to the gas station, because why not? And that's what I've captured for this playthrough. It's early in the game, so no real spoilers. I think the plot is less clever than it thinks it is. I mean, it's chock full of betrayal and all that, but within the first 5 minutes, well, not 5 minutes, because you don't really get to play the game until like a half hour in. There's a lot of cutscenes and just tutorial stuff you need to wade through. So I think back in the day when I originally got this, I probably gave up on it a bit early in my regard. I mean, I've obviously played it further now, but yeah, it's a tough one to get into because of the opening just being so fraught with doing very little, really. But you are aware, before you even sort of start playing the game, you're introduced to some characters and you're like, that's the love interest, that's the bad guy, that guy's gonna die. It's not in any way shocking where, oh my god, that's the bad guy. No, I knew that after seeing a picture of him. I literally knew that. So although it's good, it doesn't really I like it, but it's one of those games where you're very ambivalent about things because there's certain things it does which you like. I like the way it tries to have like an open world where you go to missions, although it's really just a hub, and you, outside of getting skill points and losing skill points, you can't do anything other than crash, which does nothing. So it seems like it's a bit of wasted effort, and you could have just had a loading screen and taken you to the next mission, or just a selection screen of where you wanted to go, and just have like an animated map or something, rather than a full-on I'll drive there on my motorcycle kind of deal. There are stealth elements in the game. They're relatively easy, which is good because I hate stealth. The enemies are pretty bloody stupid and do appear on your mini-map unless you're in combat, in which case the mini-map becomes obfuscated and you cannot see them. You can creep up behind them and snap their necks, or just unload your gun into their backs. Guess which one I like doing. The combat itself is not great. It's a fairly early game. I think it was 2001. So the dual stick thing isn't really there. The left stick will move you around and the camera will kind of swing around to where you're going. So I forever open like the weapon selection thing because I was trying to rotate the camera with the right stick. Like my brain has been programmed to, but no. You just have to wait for the camera to come round. And that's awkward, and even worse is you need the camera pointing at the bad guys to target the bad guys. You don't have free aim, you only have a lock on, and you do have a one button ability to switch between sort of targets, which is good, but it also has a lag before it works, so by the time you switch targets you'll be getting shot. Jack isn't made of metal, he is relatively squishy. He's not the worst I've seen, but he's not the best either. So you do want to take cover. Unfortunately, when you take cover to pop out to shoot, you need to expose the entirety of your body, so it's basically the same as not being in cover when you're shooting. The grenades that you throw, they don't have any reticle to indicate where they're going. You just kind of like lob them in the general direction and hope they do something. It's all these little bits which have been sort of polished nowadays, and even back then, like a few years on, and some cases in its competitors, which have really been rounded off. And I think like with a few of those quality of life adjustments, the game would be much better than it currently is. I mean, certainly I can only speak for the PS2 version. As I say, the Dreamcast version did rate better. I believe the PS2 was rated average, but it's the version I've got, so it's the version I'll talk about. Back in the day, I remember taking it around a friend's house and we played it and we had relative fun with it, and then we moved on and played something else. And to be honest, I think before sort of prepping for this review, I didn't really touch it. Maybe since that point, it was kind of one of those games where it was like, okay. It's like, okay, I played this at my friend's house and it took us like a half hour to get to the game. I don't really want to do that half hour again, maybe. That sort of thing, you know? I don't want to throw a half hour of effort just to watching cutscenes. To be fair, they are skippable, so, you know, I don't know. I could have skipped them, I guess. I am playing it upscaled on the emulator that you see now, but it is off my original disc. I can't remember if I include any cutscenes in there. There are lines that make it look like it's being displayed on like a multi-monitor setup. From what I've been able to see, that's a result of the emulation. That was not in the game. I can't remember myself, but I've looked at footage online and they don't appear to be on that. So that is a result of my piss poor emulation configuration. There's a whole bunch of long words. My brain hurts. As you can see, though, it's not a bad looking game even for the time. It did come out a year later on PlayStation 2, so obviously some of the wow factor was taken away after its original Dreamcast release. The Dreamcast controller also had analog controls for acceleration on your motorcycle, whereas this is just like the X button, which I think it has some sort of ramping function, so the longer you hold it, the faster it speeds up. And, you know, mixed in with the control issues of the bike itself and the relative sort of non-use the bike has, it's one of those issues where it's like, oh cool, I get to ride a motorcycle to my next objective, that's neat, and then you do it and you're like, okay, well that was the thing, and then you think about it and you're like, Why was it a thing though? No. As I say, the storyline is pretty twisty and turny. It's very much sort of a game that has been, it's of its time. It wears its influence on its sleeve, and it doesn't take itself too seriously, which is nice. Jack is fully equipped with one-liners. The neural suppression guns that they have, they call stimulators, which leads to some interesting dialogue, let's put it like that. As such, the news anchor keeps one by her bed. A stimulator, that is. I think she's talking about a gun. I could be wrong. Who knows? But it's one of those ones that is... It never really got popular. It never really reviewed terribly well on the PlayStation. And so it just was just caught up amongst the pack and let go. I think there's enough in it to recommend playing it. It's not expensive to find. You can find a second-hand copy for about $5. So if you do want to play it, if that looks interesting to you, then go ahead. It is a game of its time, so it is a little bit jank compared to what we play nowadays, obviously. The ability to not lock on unless you had the camera on it and not being able to move the camera was a source of frustration for me. I mean, it almost got me killed and has got me killed. It almost got me killed in the footage, but has got me killed previously. Because I know there's a guy around the corner, but I can't move the camera to look around the corner unless I move around the corner. And then he sees me and starts shooting at me. And you get my frustration. There's probably someone out there saying, oh, well, if you do this, then you can... I didn't do that, though, did I? But whatever. Anyway, guys, that's all for this week. I hope you had fun. So, Headhunter. It's not bad. It's nothing you need to play to complete your life. It's one of those also rans. But it's interesting, and it's a game I had to hand and didn't have to spend money on. So, hurrah! Anyway, guys, take it easy, and I'll catch you next time.
So much for the Wolfpack retirement plan.